from the global resources of ABC News with Terry Moran, Martin Bashir, and Cynthia McFadden in New York City. This is Nightline, April 29th, 2010.
Good evening. They may be small insects, but they're causing big problems. They don't discriminate between rich and poor, and they're happy in your home or even traveling in your luggage. Decades after almost being exterminated, bed bugs are back right across the country, and not just beneath the bed linen, but infesting entire buildings. So, why the sudden resurgence, and what can you do to defend yourself and your home? Jeremy Hubbard now reports.
Smaller than an apple seed, resilient as a cockroach, bloodthirsty as a vampire. Bedbugs, those cringe-inducing skin drillers, are back nationwide with a vengeance. They're in Fort Worth, Texas, where earlier this month 200 people were permanently forced from this apartment building after a year-long bedbug battle.
They itch and they get under your skin.
The city housing authority spent $500,000 to rid the building of the pests. It didn't work. They're in Seattle, where bedbug calls to exterminators are up some 70% in the last 2 years.
They want your blood, and that's just that. They want to eat.
And they're in New York City, where there were nearly 11,000 bedbug complaints last year alone.
About 10 years ago, we'd probably get one call, maybe a year. Now we get an average of about 10 calls a day.
Where blogs track and map the latest infestations, and where there are now so many of the pests, the mayor has established a bedbug advisory committee.
Put it on your skin.
It's here in New York City that the bloodsuckers are making a buffet of my forearm.
That bedbug is feeding. You can actually see the blood coming into it.
We're doing this on purpose in Jeremy Ecker's kitchen. He'll use these newly blood-fattened bugs as bait for the latest weapon in the war on the insects. Okay. Meet Cruiser, a highly trained puggle, and his cohort, a beagle named Freedom. They're working dogs trained to pick up a scent from bedbugs like the ones we've just fed with my blood.
Find a bug, get a treat.
Find a bug and get fed. The dogs only eat when they find bugs. Good boy! Every day they're working. Whether or not we have work, they're working. They're work dogs. They're not pets. So they have to work to eat.
Ecker is part of a growing number of bedbug sniffing dog owners. He gets $350 a pop for every apartment and house his canines check for infestation. And they are very good at finding bugs.
Ready to work? Ready to work?
Researchers say a well-trained dog is more than 95% accurate at discovering even one small bedbug in a home. Cruiser came to this apartment in nearby Yonkers, New York, and sure enough...
Good boy!
So the alert's the scratch.
You can let the dog sniff around. Sometimes they'll pace back and forth until they pick up on the scent where they want to start hitting.
I couldn't believe it. A little dog like that, he knew exactly where they were. Okay.
It's Nina Rinaldi's bedroom that's infested.
See, the arms to down here.
She showed us the tiny red bite marks covering her body.
Actually, they hit anywhere. They don't have a preference.
So many, she marks off on a calendar.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The night she's managed to catch a bedbug in action.
Oh, God. It was a nightmare.
For Nina and the millions of other bedbug victims nationwide, the question is, why now? The insects were all but eradicated a half-century ago with the help of the pesticide DDT. But DDT has since been banned in the U.S. over health, environmental, and other fears.
Well, they actually never were completely gone. They were probably in low populations in various cities.
Louis Sorkin knows all about the insects.
The populations were able to increase invisibly.
It's not taking them long to latch on.
No, you see, they stop, almost always stop right away and start feeding.
The entomologist and New York's foremost authority on the creatures keeps 3,000 of them jarred up in his office for research.
Full, full, full. They're actually getting more full. And here's one that hasn't fed yet.
Some can live an entire year without feasting on blood. And while they're not believed to transmit disease, they do carry a stigma.
That's one of the problems, maybe, and possibly contributing to why it came back, is people just were afraid to talk about it or just didn't even want to admit it.
That whole theory about being dirty and so forth just doesn't hold water at this point anymore.
That's not the case.
No, that is not the case.
Meanwhile, at Nina's,
We definitely know that the dog's smelling bed bugs along the left side of the bed.
Okay, great.
Jeremy hands things over to Ken and his extermination team.
Bed bugs are hitchhikers. Anybody can get them at any point in time.
They're using an alternative to chemical treatments or freezing the creatures.
We're going to max this thing out and see how it goes.
You're going to cook them.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, they're going to cook.
These guys are essentially turning Nina's house into a dry sauna.
This is one of the toughest pests that we've seen.
First, plastics and anything else that can melt are removed. Then heaters and blowers are brought in and turned on. The windows covered in foil. The temperature cranked up.
These are probes. We're going to go ahead and probe things throughout the apartment just to make sure that we're getting temperatures everywhere throughout.
Over the next few hours, heat monitors and thermal imaging cameras gauge the heat.
So we're about 84 degrees, 83 degrees there.
Right.
Got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
As her place turns into an oven.
It's 122 in here.
122 right over there.
It takes your breath away.
Whew. Yeah, it is hot.
Once it reaches around 120 degrees throughout and stays there for nearly 2 hours, all of the bed bugs should roast to death. You can see what happens in this time lapse. The heat stirs up the bugs, makes them hop around, and eventually dries out their bodies, bakes them before they stop scurrying for good.
They dry up.
Yes, yes, exactly it.
How high is it going to get in here?
Right here, it's about 134.1, 134.2. We really want to make sure that we exceed the temperatures to a point where we know we've killed everything in the room.
For Nina, it is some relief.
No more of this, huh?
Yeah, no more of these guys. No more of these guys.
But for Cruiser and Freedom, the work isn't finished. They're loading up, off to sniff out the enemy in the ongoing battle against these bloodsuckers. I'm Jeremy Hubbard for Nightline in Yonkers, New York.